In Stars and Time is the first game to ever make me cry, and it has everything to do with how it handles time loops. Now, time loops are a super interesting genre, but in a game like 12 Minutes or a movie like The Edge of Tomorrow, we don't see any mental consequences, the main character staying completely sane throughout the loops, and only really getting physically harmed. In Stars and Time looks at that and spits on it, as this game really tries to show the mental torment loops can bring upon our main character, to the point where they break. Now, In Stars and Time is an indie game released in November of 2023, made by Insert Disc 5, and on release I heard about it from the viewpoint of an Undertale / Earthbound inspired RPG, but it didn't immediately catch my eye as I was kind of busy with some other projects. But after I finished my Celeste video, I somehow stumbled upon the game through an animatic with about 20,000 views, and this time it got my full attention. Quick spoiler warning though, because if you like games like Undertale and OMORI, and you like getting severely depressed over pixels on your screen, there's a high chance you'll love In Stars and Time. It has my favorite characters in all of gaming, and a ton of other things that I can't convey through this video, so if you want the full experience, please go play it. Just before we get into it though, if you enjoyed this video at any point, please subscribe. I don't really like asking this, but I don't get subs if I don't, so I'd appreciate it a ton. That said, let's get back into it. The game starts out with a dream of this guy eating a star, and they get woken up by Mirabelle, and we learn they are called Siffrin. Siffrin is our character we play as, and the start of this game introduces us to them and the rest of the party, who already have a long journey behind, which will finally come to an end tomorrow, when the party takes on the king, who's trying to freeze the country in time. The rest of the party includes Mirabelle, a housemaiden from the House of Dormant, Odile, the old researcher from Cabway, Bonnie, the non-binary preteen, and Isabeau, who is very happy to see, and we learn that after tomorrow he wants to be a clothing designer, and also he's most definitely in love with Siffrin. We then go make a wish at this big tree called the Favor Tree, which can supposedly grant wishes, and has been getting more popular recently. So Siffrin finds a leaf to say his wish into, but most people probably wished for your party to defeat the king, so Siffrin decides to wish for something smaller, something like going with Bonnie to meet her sister, continuing the traveling with Mirabelle, or like wearing clothes that Isabeau will make. You want to stay with them. After you talk to all your friends though, it's time for the sleepover, where Siffrin bodies everyone in the eating competition they didn't know they were having, and then they go to bed. But before we can actually fall asleep, Isabeau has something to tell Siffrin. Actually, never mind, he'll do it after you beat the king tomorrow. Siffrin leads the party, and as we get into the house, we find some sadnesses, which Odile describes as remnants of people defeated by the king, no longer being able to tell the difference between friend and foe. We get introduced to the pretty basic battle system, working on rock, paper, scissors mechanics, in a tutorial that takes a little bit too long. But as we get into the next hallway, Mirabelle tells us this is the so-called death corridor, and Siffrin needs to check the room for traps. As you check through all the pillars though, you don't find anything, and just attribute it to Mirabelle being her anxious self. See? Everything's fine. As you live through the novel experience of having your body crushed by a giant rock, you feel a tug on your stomach. As Siffrin wakes up back in the field, Mirabelle once again comes to wake them, but they can't respond right now. Mirabelle leaves, and naturally, Siffrin tries to comprehend what just happened by having a mental breakdown about it. You went back in time. Okay, that's normal. Totally normal. Now you just need to figure out how and why and maybe how to actually survive. But for now, you meet Mirabelle again. and after Siffrin tells her about nap time, they hear a voice in their head telling them to come to the favor tree, where we meet this quirky guy. This is Loop, and they are here to help Siffrin, and they sure are quirky. Loop knows about the time loops, and they can even see what Siffrin is doing at most times, and they will always be here to talk about previous loops, and just act as a general guide throughout the game. They will be the only one you can talk to about the loops, since Siffrin isn't planning to tell his party about the time loops. Like, why would he need to? He can literally respawn after death. He'll be fine without their help. Loop also tells us about this cool feature where we can zone out of conversations to make them go faster. Which, like, thank fuck. And we once again set off to the clock tower, where if you zone out, Siffrin doesn't eat quite as much this time. Back in the house we go though, where this time we actually find a switch to trigger the rock, and we survive the first room. When we reach floor 1 though, we find a lot of these weird floating water, which Bonnie tells us are called tears, and they freeze you in time. So naturally, Siffrin pulls a "oh no, what that?" and throws himself into the tear. And as he gets frozen in time, Loop chimes in to tell us that when looping back in time, we can choose where we want to loop back. Checkpoints being on every new floor you find. Which, again, thank fuck. These tears will serve as tools to loop at any time you want as you progress through the house. And while we do, we also learn more about our party. Odile is curious about anything and everything to do with Vogardian culture. We see Isabeau and Mirabelle reminisce about the change belief, and Bonnie is a ridiculously foul-mouthed kid. Crab being the equivalent to fuck, which, by the way, is hilarious. Because a big part of this culture of the country is the change belief, a belief all about, well, changing. But there's this phenomenon in evolution where non-crab-like forms somehow always evolve to crab-like forms, which goes against everything the change belief stands for, so crab became an actual swear word. This was way too funny for me not to mention. Insert this, you are a genius for this. But when progressing to the house, we eventually find the head housemaiden's office, where there seems to be nothing important, and when you walk out of the door, a rock shuts in front of the entrance. Luckily, there was nothing important there, right? Okay, that's fine. Just loop back and actually find the key this time. It's taped to the underside of the table, you blinding idiot. It's fine though. You continue through the house, this key opens to the library, and we can find a diary from a young girl. And we learn about an island north of Vogard that completely disappeared one day, with all the memories attached to it. And if you try to say its name, you get a massive headache. This surely won't have any importance in this game. Continuing through the floors though, Siffrin is the most relatable character of all time. Like, he is literally me. They die by eating pineapple, and you reach the third and final floor, where this time the door isn't locked by a key, but actually by these weird flannel looking things. So you explore the floor some more, and you find a door that needs a key from the previous floor. Stars, you're bad at your job, but it's fine. You just loop back, get the key, and you can make more progress. Just in the next hallway from this one, you and the party spot a bathroom, and Siffrin decides to take a little break here. Not to actually use the bathroom like a pleb, but rather to celebrate. It's because they're doing it. Whether it's the universe, the change god, or even the fucking tree that gave them this power, it's saved them multiple times already. You're so close to the king now, you can almost taste it. As Siffrin fist bumps the air one final time, everyone comes out of the bathroom fully refreshed, and just a few rooms over, you can find a statue from the change god. But unlike all the other statues in the house, this one remains intact. Your party goes and prays to it, and whether you choose to join them or not, you get the key knife, and you can break through the door. And after a final eating break, we finally enter the king's room. Before you actually enter the battle though, the king asks Siffrin if they remember. Remember what? Whatever, this is what this whole journey has led up to. No need to get distracted now. One hit. He got you all in one hit. Your party members shout at Bonnie to run. You want to move. Just move, but you can't. And the king strikes. And then a tug on your stomach. Back to the stage, Siffrin. You need to find out how to defend his first attack. Now is probably a good time to mention Siffrin's love for theater, which not only serves as some fun character building, it actually reveals the mentality Siffrin has for the loops. As he goes through the same things over and over again, he starts treating conversations and events like plot points for a play, always saying the same stuff, just following the script, finding comfort in the repetition of knowing what to say and knowing what to do. For now, we can find out from the librarian that in the house there is actually a secret library, which if we inspect, Mirabelle can learn a shield spell. So back to the king we go, this time prepared for his first attack. You did it! You survived the first attack, and the rest of the battle was like a breeze. And you actually made it! Don't look at the runtime of this video, this is the end of the game. Siffrin and the party beat the king, we finally meet the head housemaid, and Isabeau was going to tell Siffrin something. But before he gets the chance to fully say it... I have never in my life wanted to punt a child more than right now. Anyway, after we have talked to everyone from our party, we can talk to the head housemaid, who thanks us for accompanying Mirabelle on this journey, and tells Sif they're welcome in Dortmund. Any time. You're back. Mirabelle comes to wake Siffrin, but don't even hear her, because you won, didn't you? So why are you back? Your hands are shaking, your stomach is killing you, the whole universe is closing in on you. You're back to the start, you're back here. As Mirabelle tries to comfort Siffrin, I want to quickly mention that although this game is not a psychological horror, there are these scenes like dying for the first time, dying to the king, and the one we just saw that very much do lean into that subgenre of horror, and I love it. These are super unique in their horror. For the scene we just saw, nothing scary really happens, yet the horror, that gut feeling, comes from the realization of how fucked this situation actually is, and it only gets amplified by Siffrin's reaction to it, making it feel like it has an actual impact on this character. Now with this twist, the goal of the game also completely changes, going from finding a way to get through the house and beat the king, to finding out why you're still looping and how to stop it. Loop doesn't seem surprised that you're back here, and helps brainstorm some things to do next, because as long as you have things to do, questions to answer, goals to achieve, everything is fine. First up, talking to Mirabelle, as she was quite worried after waking you up, and of course Siffrin doesn't explain himself, rather he finds out about something Mirabelle needs help with. You first need to go through some loops for more info. So before you do that, you decide to see if your other friends have anything you can help them with. And we find out that everyone needs help with at least something, and after looping some more to find out how to help them, we get some of the most heartwarming and incredibly written bonding scenes, which I'm not going to fully cover. All I'm going to talk about is what we learn about Siffrin, but again, if you're enjoying so far, go play this game please, these are amazing. In the secret quest with Odile, we find out Siffrin doesn't remember anything from their childhood, not their parents, not their culture, not even their country. In the hangout with Mirabelle, we don't learn anything important for the story, although we do find out that Mira is Arrow Ace and Siffrin is Ace. The Bonnie hangout though reveals an important part of Sif's mentality. as we learned that earlier on their journey, they lost their eye jumping in front of a sadness attacking Bonnie. And that's why Bonnie hates them. They feel guilty because Sif got hurt because of them. Siffrin, however, doesn't think it's a big deal because Bonnie is still a child, and as adults, it's the rest of the party's responsibility to take care of them. We see in some inner dialogue that they would save Bonnie, they would save everyone. Every single time, because what's the alternative? Trying to find a way to save them without being hurt? What if they died because you tried to get a better ending? On the quest with Isabeau, takes Sif to look at the stars, and it gets ever so subtly revealed that Isabeau is trans. And it's a super heartwarming scene, but we don't learn much more about Siffrin except for that he likes astrology. Now, these scenes are so heartwarming, so comforting, and they all unlock super powerful attacks and buffs in combat. So powerful that every time you loop back, you'll need to go through those scenes again to unlock those skills. But what if you complete a full loop like this, without looping ahead, beat the king and went to see the head housemaid, with your friends loving you? Would anything change? Everyone is saying something different now, everyone is really seeing you, so it's worth a shot. And with these extra skills and knowledge you have now, the house becomes a cakewalk as you progress easier than ever. And on the third eating break, the party has a talk about their relationships, and Siffrin brings up that Odile once said, in a different loop, that they aren't friends, rather just colleagues. But Odile clears it up as she can't call these younglings friends, but it's more like family. Siffrin likes this explanation, and the party from now on are called family members. When you finally reach the head housemaid, the morale is higher than ever. This was one of the best loops you had, and everything was different, so maybe... Oh, of course. I mean, the head housemaid repeats herself once again, and as Siffrin is going through it, you already start thinking about what to do in the next loop. Siffrin tries to comfort himself because it's just the same, and why would it have changed? Power of friendship? Stupid. It's fine. It's just the same. If it's the same, you're fine. You can't move. You're frozen. Have to move. Just move. You can catch Isabeau's hands. You move forward and then attack on your stomach. Okay, that didn't work. Now Mirabelle is back to feeling awful and out of place. Isabeau doesn't remember the night under the stars. Odile still hides everything about her, and Bonnie is back to hating you. But it's fine. All you can do is try something else now. What did Loop recommend again? Learning more about the king. Okay, we can find some articles about him in the house, finding out that he isn't from Vogard and that he seemingly spawned into existence as an adult. Also, he has armor with stars on it, and he mentions stars and sky-related things often, just like Siffrin. When going through the house though, we find a mirror that takes pictures, and Siffrin has a little moment, because this is proof. Proof that you're here on this journey, with your family members. Even if you forget, it's proof that you existed. Proof that you were happy, perfectly frozen in time. The king probably came from the other country, the one north of here, the one that got forgotten. And when the king came here, he was welcomed by Vogard, welcomed and helped and loved. So much so, he feels like Vogard is perfect. And because no one knows why and how the other country was forgotten, what else could he do than freeze this place in time to make sure the perfect country was preserved in amber? Siffrin feels like he understands the king a bit better, so he wants to ask him some questions, like if he knows anything about the loops. After all, he does use some kind of time power. We find out he's using timecraft, which normally requires immense amounts of power to wield. So the king got some help from the universe, whatever that may mean. Siffrin then asks where the king is from, which he answers by asking Siffrin if they remember. They have to remember. The others are confused, but Siffrin seems to know exactly what he's talking about. Their country. The one north of here. The one that disappeared without a trace. You and the king can rebuild it. Your home. You just have to say its name. As the king begs you to say it, you inhale, you try to grasp its name. But your throat and your head are killing you, you spit out blood. The king asks you to say it once again, you have to try. Your family begs you to stop, you have to. They don't understand anyway, the pain of not remembering your own country. Someone is screaming. You realize it's your own voice, and you feel a tug of your stomach. You couldn't say it. What was the point anyway? It's gone. Your home is gone and it has been for a long time. There's nothing you can do to bring it back now. Doesn't he see that you just have to let it go? You need to go talk to the king and fix this. This scene sets up the king as the regretful villain. Obviously, he is the villain in the story, but what if you can find a better solution, a better case scenario than him freezing the entire country? What if you don't have to kill him? Would that solve the loops? So we convince him to stop fighting, and he tells us more about his country, about what happened, about why he wants to freeze Vogard in time. But perhaps we can find a different way. And he asks Siffrin to join him at his side. This is horrifying. Not because of anything the game actually shows, or even because of any consequences. I mean, it's a time loop, everyone is fine, Bonnie is fine. But how could you ever trust the king? Why would you trust the man who plunged his country into despair? Why would you go off script? You know how to save everyone, you know how to defeat the king. You would do it over and over again, forever. You need to find out more about the loops. The king mentioned something about Wishcraft. Maybe you should try finding more about that. From this point on, we start seeing Siffrin really go downhill mentally. They start forgetting names of regular items, they start seeing ghosts of themselves in the house, and they even start forgetting their family's names. Loop asks you to spend one day, one loop with them, and let the others fight the king alone. Siffrin doesn't fully realize what this means until they actually do fight the king, and quickly after it goes quiet, he loops back to the first day. But why does he loop here? You don't instantly loop when the king wins, you loop when you die, but you don't die here, nor do you do with the head houseman. So what actually makes you loop? This starts the final mystery of the game, as you can now read the language of Siffrin's country. You have to go through the entire house, finding books in a specific order. So you once again start looping. Book on the first floor, a theoretical essay about how to use witchcraft. Loop to the second floor, a book about different rituals to craft wishes. Turns out the favor tree back in Vermont can actually grant wishes if you just use the right ritual, which only Siffrin seems to have done, but it can't be because of their wish. That was to wear clothes that Isabeau has made. Loop to the 3rd floor and you can find a list of all the wishes of the villagers, who almost all wished for Vogard to be saved. And even though they don't know the right rituals, an entire country believing in a wish just might make it count. What if the wishes of all these villagers manifested into giving you the power to loop in time? And now that you know this, you can talk to the head housemaid and she can fix it. You know the problem now, this should work. But when you go and talk to her, it's the same. But why? You wish she would just answer you. Now that she knows, now that you know, she can fix it. As the housemaiden keeps talking, Siffrin freezes. She can't help you, even now. The wish is broken and Siffrin is trapped for all eternity. As they once again break down, they try to convince themselves it's okay. It's fine. You learned why you're here. It's because everyone wished for you to be rotting here forever. They try to tell themselves it's fine. Their family's here after all. They can stay with them forever and they still have things to try. You don't actually kill him after all. Mirabelle actually does the last hit. What if you do the last hit? And it's fine. You have your family here, but this thought is not enough anymore. And Siffrin finally breaks. What follows this breakdown are some of the most heartbreaking scenes in the game, as we see Siffrin try to unlock the skills of each family member and horribly fuck each one up. Until we eavesdrop on them at the clock tower and we hear Odile say she's not sure if she can trust Siffrin anymore. Which, of course, Siffrin takes poorly and decides to go into the house alone, which looks more than a little bit fucked. Rooms being in opposite doors, rooms that lead nowhere, boxes you can walk through, keys in wrong places, and a Siffrin who can't take it anymore. Until we reach the king, where even though they put up a good fight, Siffrin can't take him on alone, and they wake up in a completely dark space. Here he meets himself. And we enter a super OMORI-like scene where we have Siffrin talking to a hallucination of himself, who takes no damage and doesn't speak, until Siffrin snaps and shouts at them and the thing takes up on the voice of Bonnie, telling Frin that they shouldn't have saved him that one time. They let them die the other time, right? They should have died to protect them then. Then Odile, who tells Siffrin that they were never friends. Why would she be friends with someone without a home? Siffrin tries to convince himself that it's not real, but then Isabeau, who says that they don't understand him. He doesn't want to know someone who won't even try to change. He doesn't want to know someone so weak, so afraid to be seen. He ends by saying he knows Siffrin take advantage of him by using the loop. That's the only reason he likes you, because he made them. And then Mirabelle, who just says one thing. I can't wait to never see you again. And Siffrin can't take it anymore. As the shadow something gets in your face, they convince Sif that he is the only one who thought this journey was meaningful. And Siffrin gives up. As the others arrive to save Siffrin, he still talks himself down, and they defeat the king. But in those last moments, he finally remembers he can finally see the country, and he gets frozen in time. As his family asks him what is up with him, why he's acting so weird, Siffrin can't answer. He can't even stand up. He's so sick, and with help of Isabeau, they make their way to the head housemaid, where the sky is red, as if the world itself is breaking. When we finally get to the head housemaid, she says Sif is gonna be fine. It's just a result of using crafts too much. But when we actually ask what's going on with the world, she breaks. She starts randomly repeating lines, making incoherent sentences, and it seems like it's all over once again. You didn't beat the king after all, and now they'll all go home. They cannot go home. As the haunting soundtrack kicks in, Siffrin transforms into some super being, and you realize that Siffrin has become the final boss. We get the choice between attacking our family and ourselves. Siffrin shouts out that he doesn't want to let them go home, which the rest of the party doesn't understand, so Siffrin freaks out even more and accidentally reveals he is stuck in a time loop. And through some inner monologue, they finally reveal what was so clear, yet impossible to see from the start. Siffrin wished for this, and if they find out, they'll hate them. But he can't do anything about it. Odile makes sure he can't loop back, and he has to talk this out. The key to all of this is of course what Siffrin wished for, but it was just to wear clothes Isabeau had made, right? But that wasn't all of it, was it? You wished for that, yes, from the bottom of your heart, but deep down you wished to stay with them. And if we look back at the original scene, it's right there, it makes so much sense. After you talk to the head houseman, this journey is over. They will all go back to their homes, and you can't stay with them longer, so you look back. That one loop you spent with Loop, they all died. The journey was over. But as Siffrin apologizes for being so selfish, for wanting this journey to take longer, Mirabelle interrupts him and reveals that she too wishes to continue traveling with this group. Bonnie of course wants to see their sister again, but they too want to keep traveling. Isabeau too, and even Odile admits that she was too scared to ask about this. This moment in the ending was the first time I have ever cried to a game, and it truly lets the character writing in this game shine. As we get to the end once again, Siffrin apologizes once more, and when talking to everyone, Odile calls Siffrin cute for using some forgotten craft power to stay with them forever. Bonnie is yet to fully understand what happened. Mirabelle is a bit overwhelmed with everything at the moment and tells Siffrin she might be mad at him some other time, but then we finally meet Isabeau. And after they have a small talk about the happenings of yesterday, Isabeau reaches out their hand but doesn't dare to actually touch Sif. So Siffrin takes the first step. And Isabeau finally says it. Siffrin asks for some time to figure out their own feelings, and with that we can talk to the head housemaid, and the game rolls credits. This is the perfect bittersweet ending this game deserves, and it really shows what makes this game special. That being of course the emotional roller coaster feeling that there is throughout the entire game. And the game ends up being more than just another time loop game, rather being an exploration of trauma and the grief of loss. As we see Siffrin throughout the game constantly reach back for his lost country, constantly living in fear to be forgotten. But that's enough analysis for now. I have more ideas with actual analysis instead of just me explaining the story to you. So subscribe if you want to see those, and I'll see you guys next time.